Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports.
Welcome to another edition of the Black and Gold Daily Blitz, brought to you by DSPMediaOnline.com and FanStream Sports. This is Adam Kahn at AJCon95. He is Joel Alexander at Joel Closer at an undisclosed location in the city of Chicago. Glad to have you back. Glad to be in the free agency frenzy. I'm sure it's happened before. I don't recall a time when the Steelers have been this active this early. Whether it's bringing back their own or going out on the market and getting a couple of veterans. But it's good to see. Good to see activity.
Yeah. Patrick Peterson's getting a little long in the tooth, so we hope that the cliff doesn't arrive next year when he's on the team. But, they weren't able to retain Cam Sutton, so you bring in a corner with his pedigree, and you got to hope for the best there.
One of the things we disagreed on, we don't disagree on the fact that Peterson is much older. Getting rid of, first of all, the price for Sutton I thought was too high. It was over his market. That doesn't mean we all didn't want to keep him. We wanted to keep him over. If we're given the choice, yes, I prefer to have Sutton. He can play inside and out in the slot, on the corner. He's more versatile than Peterson.
Yep.
That said, Peterson is also very good at what he does and has not shown a lot of decline in his early 30s. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's at that big of a drop-off. He just won't be as versatile. He won't be able to, and that's where the problem is, because we got guys like Witherspoon and Millette who were questionable at times. And so there still is that question of, are they going to address that position in the draft? Because Peterson's not going to be the savior. I don't think so anyway. I'm sure you agree.
Yeah, Witherspoon was hurt so much last year, and when they tried to get him back on the field, he got burned in the Eagles game. I thought he finished 2021 really strong, and my friends in the Bay Area really sort of felt that he was either a really hot or really cold corner. So he either has an amazing game or he gets torched. So I think, it's good they have Levi Wallace. I like the fact that they brought KZ back, but a lot of these free agent moves are sort of complementary pieces. They're obviously, there's not a big splash signing or anything like that, but what it enables them to do is to go into the draft without being desperate. You see that they picked up a guard, which I love seeing them add some depth. I think that might mean that Kendrick Green is going bye-bye based on that Nate Herbig signing. You see that they signed the inside linebacker out of the Washington and brought back Ogunjobi. That means they can go into the draft and the board can fall the way that it's going to fall, and they're gonna they're not going to be in panic mode. I still think they have some big holes, and this is a huge draft for this team. They got to get younger, and they can't whiff on any of these players in the first 4 picks. But I think so far. It's a little ho-hum, but these are moves that just give them some confidence going into the draft that they're going to be in a good position.
You mentioned Nate Herbig. Apparently, he's called Nasty Nate in New York. His name. His name doesn't make a lot of headlines. I suppose that's a good thing. But if you remember in the Jets game, he was with the Jets last season. Started 11 games, and the Jets wore down the Steelers' defense late in that game, the fourth quarter. The Steelers came back. It was Pickett's first game. They took a lead, and then the Jets just mauled them on the line. And Herbig was one of those guys that was just pushing them back and back and back. And so the one thing the Jets did well last year was run the ball, and he was a part of that. So I agree. I like that. I like that depth a lot. And you mentioned Holcomb coming out of Washington. Again, you're right. Like kind of ho hum, not splashy, but he deceptively has some good stats from 2 seasons ago. Had 140 some total tackles, and I read that he played almost 600 snaps in coverage in 2021, which is what they're missing. I mean, they didn't. Spillane was versatile, but he wasn't a solid pure coverage guy. And Holcomb had a couple of interceptions. He had a pick six, a couple forced fumbles. He was a part of 5 takeaways in 2021, and the Steelers had none from their inside linebackers last season. So, on paper, it actually looks pretty good. He's not a household name. In fact, the Steelers were really close at signing Van Der Esch from the Cowboys, but he decided to stick with Dallas. And so Holcomb, maybe he's the consolation prize, but they need it, and they needed it in a bad way.
All these guys, I mean, he needs to play better than Joe Schobert, right? He needs to play better than Devin Bush. The big thing with him is if he can. Apparently,
I mean, first of all, anyone can play better than Joe.
Anybody can play better than either of those guys. You hope so, right? But it's been a revolving door since the Shazier injury. So what I read is that he can really stop the run, and that he was a leading tackler before he got hurt. Apparently, there's a foot injury, and a lot of this hinges on his physical, but both sides are confident that he'll pass his physical. But yeah, they need him to be better than what they have had, and be a complementary piece to Miles Jack, right? So again, a signing like that, you got Mark Robinson still in the fold, who just looked so raw last year at inside linebacker, but he also just looked like his closing speed was just very noticeable. But again, it's a good signing. It means they don't have to panic in the first couple rounds of this draft. I think that's the real critical piece. So if you had if it was your pick and you were in control of the position that they go with the 17th pick, what position would you go with? If you know that there is a player on their board available, top player.
I'm thinking. Listen, I'm thinking best player available of those positions, and I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, but like, do I think they have to go with Joey Porter Jr.? No, I don't think they have to go with Joey Porter Jr. I think that they, right? I mean, like, I think that they have the freedom to go with not necessarily best player overall on the board, but the best player of those positions that they need. And I'd be fine if they went interior. I'd be fine if they went corner. I'd be fine if they went inside linebacker. I wouldn't be surprised if they went edge rusher with one of the earlier picks, or receiver like they tend to do. Real quick, we're going to go down the list of remaining players. Technically not on the team, but that have not been signed elsewhere. So unrestricted free agents that are, I guess you could still say the Steelers have an opportunity to sign. We can go with thumbs up, thumbs down. I don't know. I don't see Mason Rudolph sticking around. I don't see Devin Bush sticking around. First one I'm looking at might be Derek Watt. I could see them retaining him, although they haven't yet. What do you say on Watt?
Ineffective. Get him out of there. You got Cam Hayward's brother, Connor, out of Michigan State. Stick with him. Next.
Oh, Sparty. Of course you'd say that. All right. Terrell Edmonds. Improved, I'll grant you, but
I would like to see Edmonds back, but again, it comes down to the money, right?
Yeah, but he hasn't gotten any major offers yet, or else he'd be gone.
Yeah, his brother just got paid, so I'd like to see Edmonds back. I'm glad to see KZ back. Just to have some stability in the secondary after losing Cam Sutton, I think is key. So, but you can't overpay.
All right. Chris Wormley, we talked about getting a little younger. He's 29, but he doesn't have a lot of tread on his tires. Decent interior
I
lineman
like
for
Wormley.
depth. I say
like
okay. All right, we're on the same page with that one.
Loudermilk hasn't developed. Loudermilk hasn't developed, so I like Wormley. And I do think drafting a big horse on the DL, on the D line, is critical this year because Wormley's not going to be around forever. Ogunjobi's back, but Alulu's gone. Cam Hayward's getting older. You got to get a hoss on the D line.
I skipped right over Alulu, man. He was a fan favorite a few years ago, but he's well past his prime.
He hit his clip.
James Pierre, a couple guys on offense. Oh, stick with secondary. James Pierre, another guy we part of that like rotational system that came through in times of need, but not someone you want to put all your trust in.
I just haven't seen the impact of James Pierre. I mean, he always has a good preseason, this and that, but I don't need him on my team personally.
All right, two more. Zach Gentry. This is a deep tight end draft, so Gentry is expendable.
Yeah. Well, Gentry can block, right? This draft is supposedly very deep at the corner position and very deep at the tight end position. So one would think that drafting a tight end wouldn't make a ton of sense. That's a little bit of a luxury pick. However, we've seen what it can be done in New England with two tight end sets. If they lose Gentry, they probably need to look into possibly drafting one late. I would try to bring him back because he can block. That's my opinion. That's
fair. Yeah, and he's not going to cost. He's not going to be a cap hazard on your team. So for sure, and we need. You're correct. Freiermuth's skill set isn't deep in the trenches. He's fair, but you're right. We need a blocker in there to help out. All right. Last but not least, Benny Snell Jr., Columbus and Westerville High School. Stay or go?
Benny Snell football can take his talents elsewhere. Goodbye.
But you're right. That does not make a career.
He did.
And he has a history of underperforming more often than not. So I'll grant you that. All right. So Devin Bush, Eric Watt, Mason Rudolph.
For a dime a dozen.
You're right. Those guys, yes. But there is something to be said about depth. They'll need a third guy that they can rely on.
They will. They will. Listen, if he's affordable, okay. But I just haven't even seen him look good in the short yardage. I mean, that was supposed to be his thing coming out of Kentucky, is that he's this tough-nosed short yardage back, and I haven't seen that. And that's to me the frustrating, because you got to spell Najee, and Najee's, you can't have him, in every single short yardage play. So I just. And that's not to say I think Anthony McFarland is anything to write home about either. I think they've swung and missed on both those guys. But if there's anything you can find in the draft, it's a running back. The Steelers had a hard time doing that, but you can do it. And I like Najee, so they did do that. And certainly the kid that was not drafted, that's a huge success story. So, but I think it made Benny Snell football expendable.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we'll have some draft coverage to get into later on this month, as we're only a month away. About a month away. Hopefully this Max Headroom edition of the Black and Gold Daily Blitz was music to your ears. He is Joel Alexander at Joel Closer. I am Adam Kahn at AJCon95. This is Black and Gold Daily Blitz.